How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Blade Bias. Today is a fun one. You might notice what I'm flipping here is a Serif. Where did I get this from? Well, a good friend of mine, Death's Flips on Instagram, I've done edits for him here and there, and I've worked for him for free because he's a cool friend of mine, and I've just kind of helped him out with some editing work. So I was like, listen, you know, I've been doing some editing. Maybe you could lend me a knife and I could just, like, chill with it for a little while. So that's basically how it went. He was like, yeah, sure, anything in my collection, let me know. You can borrow it for a while. So I've had this for like a week or two. It's been a week. Exactly today, I believe it's been a week. And yeah, I have been flipping the Serif for a while. And I want to give my thoughts on it because the Serif is a very interesting balisong. I mean, obviously we know MachineWise is insane with everything he does, but it's not so much for the reason you would initially expect. If you've never flipped anything from MachineWise, you might be caught off guard initially when you first flip it, because they're not standard. Alright, I want to get that right out of the way. The Serif and the Prisma both are not, in case you're wondering, in case anyone gets worried, this is like a turf kind of material. It's not hard at all, so if this falls, it's not going to get any dents or chips or anything. Also, it's titanium, so, but yeah. MachineWise knives are not standard flippers. People make the question all the time, like, hey, should I get a Kraken or should I get a Prisma? I do not put those two in the same boat at all. I feel like they are such a different flipping experience that there's really the question of, do you want something unique, or do you want something super standard that's just going to be a high performer? And that is kind of the question, because the Serif fits that MachineWise boat. When you get it, the MachineWise knives, they feel very similar to each other. You can tell it's a MachineWise knife. The Prisma and the Serif both feel fairly similar. They're not the same. The Serif has a little bit more weight to it. I'm talking in terms of flipping, by the way, I should clarify that. The Serif has a little bit more weight to it. It's got a little bit more weight in the handles, I feel, especially. But size and balance and that is fairly similar. Not the same, but pretty similar. So when you get a Prisma or you get a Serif, you know mostly what the other one feels like, because like I've been saying, all MachineWise stuff, the modern stuff, the Serif and the Prisma specifically, are very similar, and the Marin as well. They're all fairly similar. Now, MachineWise knives, how they're similar is they're long, but I want to show you they're long not in the way you typically expect. When I say long, the handles are not much bigger than most balisongs. I don't have my Kraken outside with me. They're about the same size, handle-wise. It's the blade. MachineWise blades are huge. Compare these two, there's an extra like ½ inch there. It's the same thing on the Kraken. MachineWise blades are huge, which is what gives them such a unique momentum, is because there's added tip weight that you don't have on something like a Kraken or maybe a Triton, or even some of the other knives that compete with the Serif, like the Tsunami, maybe some of the cheaper secondhand higher end knives like a Solo, or if you find a cheaper JK design knife. It's just different. That's the biggest takeaway here. The Serif is just different. But the Serif is still very, very good. Both the Serif and the Prisma are absolutely fucking awesome and are two of my favorite knives ever. And in their respective price points, I think they are entirely worth the value. It's just a matter of, you have to understand when you buy a Serif, it's not going to be like basic. It's not going to be basic. The Serifs are very unique in the fact that they flip very odd because they have so much extra tip weight and such a long blade. If you fan a lot, just get a Serif. There is literally no question. If you are looking for your dream balisong and you fan a lot, The Serif fans better than literally any other Balisong I have ever felt. And I went to Blade Show, I tried a lot of stuff. The Serif fans so good because of that extra tip weight. It just moves, it just goes, it just spins. And it's insane, and I love it so much. It's very awesome, very cool. I did cut myself a little bit earlier, but it's stopped, it's good. The Serif just spins. This thing's like a Beyblade. It's awesome. Love the Serif and the Prisma for fanning. So these guys are great for fanning. For rollover tricks, they do pretty good. So it's still overall a really, really good flipper. I just really need to emphasize it's not a basic flipper. You know, this is something that if you're one of those people who prefer fun, like I do, you're going to love the Serif. But if you are like, I only flip Krakens and Tsunamis, I only want the perfect flipping experience and perfect competitive flipping experience, Serif's not going to be for you. I'm just going to say it right off the bat. But one thing, I'm talking purely flipping wise here, I want to get into now where I think the Serif really shines. And that is designing and machining, which MachineWise, of course, is known for. The Serif, in my opinion, is the best machined and designed Balisong. Period. JK design stuff that costs $1,200, Serif still wins. There's just a level of precision and a level of quality in the Serif that I have never felt before. And it comes down to Dalen not being a Balisong maker first, and then just happening to start or not being interested in Balisongs first, and then happen to start machining. Dalen has been a machinist his entire life, and he only got into making Balisongs a few years ago. So you take somebody with their entire lives worth of machining experience and just slides into the Balisong hobby in recent times. They're not stuck. Dalen is not stuck on the past of, you know, this is how we used to do it 5 years ago, so this is how we're going to do it now. Dalen is keeping up with modern times and doing it better than anyone else. The Prisma for 150 to 140 if you get a blemish to $160 brand new are some of the best in their price range. Some of the best in their price range. I think only competition is probably the Vortex V2. Everything else, the Prisma just beats it in terms of machining, in terms of quality, in terms of just design and features. And it's the same thing with the Serif. In terms of machining, in terms of design, I think personally it beats out every other knife in this price range. It's just insane. The amount of quality, the amount of down to the thousandth of a millimeter precision that is gone into making the Serif. And I think the only things, I just remembered one that came to mind is the Sagaya by B.A. Bally's. That's awesome too. That is one of the other knives that I look at and I'm like, you are doing something insane here. But even after that, I think MachineWise still takes the cake. But this is some of the coolest machining I've ever seen on a knife. Overall, tolerances are insane. Adjustable balance, which is fucking awesome. I wish I had the weights with me to test out the adjustable balance. I unfortunately don't. But the Serif, best sounding belly I've ever heard, which is just, if you look up a good sound test of this thing, oh my gosh, it's insane. But these things are ridiculous. They're well worth the price tag, even as just a collector's item, because of the amount of work and artistry that goes into this thing. It's insane. Even if you don't like flipping it, you just can't deny how well made these things are. MachineWise has continually had the best tolerances I've ever felt, just in general. So when you take the best tolerances I've ever felt, combined with some of the coolest design I've ever used, combined with some of the best machining I've ever felt, even if the flipping experience is not my favorite out of all the Balisongs ever, I can 100% understand. The Serif is my grail. I used to have the Tsunami as my grail. I used to have a few other I used to have the Telestro as my grail too, just because, you know, it was my name and it actually looked super sick. The Serif is now. After everything I tried at Blade Show, the Serif is the only knife I'm gonna be 100% serious here. The Serif is the only knife that costs above $600. I was gonna say above $500, but the Medusa is also really sick. The Serif is the only knife above $500 that I genuinely would consider buying. The Tsunami is cool, but it's not really for me. I feel like it's a little too small. I don't like the roundness very much. It's not really for me. Still a great knife though. The JK Design stuff I was not really that impressed with, in all honesty. The Hanson Design Solo was actually really, really good. I just don't know if it's for me. The Serif is just and the Sagaya. The Sagaya, I keep forgetting about it. Just slips out of my mind. The live blade Sagayas are actually on my radar as well. But those two, I wish I had a Sagaya. Blake, send me one. No, but those two, especially the Serif, are the only ones that I genuinely, when I look at my collection 5 years from now and I have grails that cost thousands of dollars, those are the knives that I imagine in my collection, is the Serif and the Sagaya. And the Serif especially is the one I want first. And I just really want people to try the Serif. Go to Blade Show. See if you have a friend that has the Serif. I mean, I know it's not as easy as just being like, I'm going to go to Blade Show. But if you have the opportunity to go to Blade Show, do it. No matter what you have to do to make it happen, just do it. It is so worth it. And you get to, it changes your entire perspective on the battle song hobby, and I'm not even joking. The first time you go to Blade Show, it changes everything. Especially if you're like me, and before Blade Show you haven't tried most of the legendary knives that people that like any of the Benchmade knives, some of the JK Design knives, like you haven't tried the iconic balisongs. Going to Blade Show tells you a lot, and it really lets you figure out your preference and what you like as a flipper. My opinions on balisongs and balisong flipping completely changed when I went to Blade Show. My preferences changed when I went to Blade Show. So try it. Definitely try getting to Blade Show as much as you can. It's absolutely awesome. Of course, I will be there in next year, Atlanta. I'll be at that Blade Show. I'll be at Blade East. I won't go to any of the other Blade shows just because it's a pretty costly expense to me, and I can just drive up to Atlanta. I can't really fly. Flying costs too much money for me, so I just drive up to Atlanta because I live in Florida, so it's like a 6-7 hour drive. But yeah, definitely try as much as you can to try a Serif, get to Blade Show, come hang out, because it's absolutely amazing. And the Serif is the only knife in its price range. The Serif and the Sagaya are the only two knives above like $600 that I would genuinely consider buying. So yeah, of course it's not for everybody, but these things are insane. Even if you don't like the flipping, once you try one of these, you cannot deny that they are machined and built exceptionally well. And on top of that, Dalen is just one of the coolest dudes in the community, in my opinion. Dalen, we hung out at Blade Show. We hung out with Will, Brandon, and then Dalen and Grant, who is MachineWise and Fellowship Blades. Those guys are absolutely awesome and have now become some of my favorite balisong manufacturers just because of how cool they are and how willing they are to explain things and to kind of communicate with us about, and just the community about, like why they made certain design decisions and like what the future holds. They're just so genuine people, and they absolutely love what they're doing. Especially Grant. That dude has a fire for making knives. He is very passionate, and he is very honest, and he is very like he knows he will get his goals done, and he doesn't give a shit what it takes to make his life what he wants it to be. Grant is an awesome dude, but Dalen and Grant are two absolutely amazing people. Buy a Serif, buy a Prisma, buy a Medusa. Just support the homies. And yeah, Serif's awesome. And huge thanks to Death's Flips for letting me borrow this. Absolutely insanely nice of you. So thank you, sir. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Peace out.